Good afternoon, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. And even in the lockdown, I'm trying my best to make sure I do some reviews, simply because I like doing them. I mean, yes, every once in a while we get like an extra sale out of it, and that's cool, but also a whole bunch of people I've never met before have been talking to me about comic books, because we do it on YouTube, and that's great. I bloody love that. Sorry, shouldn't be swearing. I mean, I put the whole "it's not for kids" thing, but still, I try not to do that. Today, I picked Miskatonic as our one to review. And I don't get me wrong, there's bigger releases this week. There's Punchline, the long-awaited first proper issue of new DC villain, Batman villain for that matter. But I'm probably going to do that one tomorrow because I really have been looking forward to reading Miskatonic. I also have Terminal Punks to review, which looks very, very cool. Frank Alone at the Farm, at Home on the Farm, which looks absolutely brilliant. And I think that'll probably be enough to keep us going through the week. For now, though, yes, Miskatonic. Unsurprisingly, for a name like Miskatonic, it's to do with Lovecraft stuff. And I've got to say, I really quite like that straight off the bat, he doesn't try to do what Alan Moore and Jason Burrows did. The cover looks like he might go in that direction, because that's like some nice little detail work, lots of extra line work in there, it looks great. But we actually have a look at the first page. It's a hell of a lot softer. Don't get me wrong, the colouring over Jason Burrows' art was quite soft in places, but this kind of lower feel to it lasts all the way through. You also get some really nice kind of granular colouring rather than just like a really obvious distinct stuff. And I think that really works quite nicely. Don't get me wrong, Jason Burrows is one of my all-time favourite artists, but Giorgio, yes, Pontrelli goes a different way, and I think it really, really works for this. There's a little bit later on where I think it actually adds a little bit more because of the lack of detail, but I think I might be on my own in this one. But what else does it do? Well, it really throws some Lovecraft at you. And I found myself like chuckling along to begin with because of like all the really obvious stuff that I'm following along with. But halfway through, I was thinking to myself, wow, they are really hammering at home that this is like all about the Lovecraft in a way which a few other kind of writers don't bother doing. I think there's an intent to kind of reinvent the wheel when you're telling Lovecraftian fiction, because so much of it has been done and done to death. I mean, Lovecraft himself wrote loads of stories, and the volumes of books being written set within his universe are numerous, to say the least. And even comic books, it's not like there aren't many of those. So taking his ideas and going a different direction is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But by the time I was getting to the end of it, I realized that it's not actually trying to reinvent the wheel, but it's kind of setting itself up as something which, if you've never read a Lovecraft story before, there's enough in there that it gives you a very, very good sense of it. And there's names and places that you can recognize just from Lovecraft's place within popular culture. And I think that's a really good way of doing it. I mean, I often talk about like dropping something in issue 1 of an ongoing piece, or a second volume of a piece, or a mini series, or a side story, or something like that. Or even just a story within a set universe. It can be quite difficult. You need to find a way to drop the information in there without it just seeming like a whole bunch of exposition. With this one, there's so much there that it just kind of flows over you. Yes, if you know what you're looking for, there's so many obvious references to Lovecraftian stuff, but it doesn't really matter. The story itself stands up. The other thing it does really quite effectively is... Oh my god, I've just absolutely blanked on myself. I was in the middle of saying something. I've totally forgotten what it was going to be. Oh, yes. The other thing it does is actually deal with Lovecraft himself. Not doing the thing, which a lot of stuff does, and it really bugs me, which is putting Lovecraft into his stories and making out that he actually knew what was going on. No, it really plays on his biases and his prejudices and the fact that he is a genuinely despicable human being. What it actually does is have J. Edgar Hoover in there. And he is just the nasty piece of work you want him to be, very, very sexist and all for the masculine, which is technically for anyone who knows about J. Edgar Hoover. And there's an awful lot of stuff about miscegenation. Lots of breaches of the Immigration Act, or the terrible things that happened at Red Hook. They drop all this in there to make sure that it definitely frames it within the time it's set, very, very accurately with attitudes towards women and people of color, but it also really lays on the fact that these stories were written by somebody who had major problems with non-white folks and did not hide that in his writing. Before we go, and I realize we're almost out of time now, I am going to show you the bit of artwork, which I think, for me, I quite like the fact that they stayed simple and broad strokes rather than an awful lot of detail, because we have something happening in Innsmouth there. Now, you can kind of tell what's going on there. You don't need me to tell you. But what's quite nice is they don't go into all the detail which other people and other artists and other writers will have done. They leave a lot more of it to the imagination. So one thing I will say about Lovecraft is his stuff is best when it's inside your head, where it's not fully explained, where you don't know what's going on, and it's up to you to decide exactly how horrific things are and exactly how disturbed. And it does that very, very well indeed. Another from Aftershock, which in my opinion is absolutely brilliant. I'm glad I put it on my list because we've already sold out. I've got more coming in next week, so if you're one of my customers and you see this, get in touch. I might have a link to spare next week. At the moment, that's all I've got. If not, if you're watching this and you've got your own comic book store, check if they've got it. It's absolutely brilliant. I think you'll really like it. But that's it from me. I'm going to be back tomorrow because I am coming in the store anyway. So take it easy. Bye.